Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models and Memories Weekly, episode 15. Models and Memories is a show about nothing and it is filmed in front of a live studio audience. And stay tuned all the way till the end of this video to see a montage of painted minis courtesy of the EOB Complete community. This is a show where I talk about my painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week, and I end every episode with a story. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 YouTube videos a week and you stream every single night. How could you possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, I'm very excited about what I finished. I painted some more Indominus minis. My goal is to have all of Indominus painted by the end of this year. I want to be one of those magical members of the community who have a fully painted Indominus army. 60 some odd models, all super big and detailed and chunky, and I'm gonna have them all painted. But I have a lot of the Necrons done. I have all but some of the Necron heroes done, but the Space Marines, I don't have squat. So now I have 5 Assault Intercessors. And one thing that jingles my jangles about the Assault Intercessors is I'm really excited that Space Marines have a close combat troops choice. I play the Black Templar, the close combat Space Marine army, in theory, and it's been rough because I started playing in 2016, and that was after the Space Marines of the Black Templar had been rolled into the regular chapter, and unfortunately, vanilla Space Marines are not that good in close combat. They don't have a lot of perks, they don't have a lot of incentive to get in close combat, and I actually built 20 regular squatty Marines as Black Templar initiates, the close combat troop choice of the Black Templar, and they sucked. They got like 2 attacks on the charge. It was garbage. They were so bad. And so I eventually ended up actually turning those into Assault Marines, just so that they could have a jump pack. But now Space Marines do have a close combat troop choice in the Assault Intercessors. I remember back in the day, I would stare longingly at the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels and the Blood Angels. No, that's right, the Blood Angels, a lot of angels. And because those armies were equipped for close combat. They had special units, they had special rules, they had a lot of things to help you get into close combat. But poor old, basically vanilla Space Marine Black Templar, they didn't have those options. But now they do. I got 10 in Indominus, I'm definitely gonna paint them up, and I'm definitely gonna buy at least 10 more. And my hope and dream would be to get a box of something that I could turn into Space Marine Neophytes. The cool thing about the Black Templar is they have a unit called the Black Templar Crusaders, which can be a mixed squad of Space Marines and Scouts. And that is probably their most unique attribute. You can bring Scouts and Space Marines in the same army. You could even get that up to 16 models, I believe, so that you can get them all in a Land Raider Crusader. And I would love to make a count as some Scouts as Assault Intercessors. I would run them just as Assault Intercessors in general, but it would be cool to have them mixed in because they would really look the part. I'm really, really excited for that. But another thing that was really fun about these models is I tried out oils. I keep saying I've tried out oils for the first time, and it's just because every time I try out oils, I feel like it's the first time. I feel like I'm making very little progress on learning, but I am trying out a lot of things. I think part of the reason why I feel like I did not learn that much about oils on these models is because they're black and white. And black and white is usually like these special case paints. Like, when you're trying out blue, you're trying out yellow, you're trying out red, you have colors, you have saturation, you have vibrancy. You have all of this different space to play in. With black and white, it's black and white. There's not a ton of interesting things you can do with it, but I enjoyed it. I think it gave me some room for nice blending. And one thing I really learned on these guys is to play it fast and loose and to not be as perfect. These models are not as perfect as some of my older Primaris Marines that I painted, but they're better, and it's almost a little frustrating. On my old classic Primaris Space Marines, I painted them perfectly. Everything is highlighted, everything is edge highlighted, every pouch and pocket and purity seal has been, base coated, washed, and highlighted. Everything is correct, and yet this model doesn't have as much to say as one of these models. There's some chipping, there's a little bit of highlighting, there's a little bit of edge highlighting, there's a fair bit of dry brushing, which is very unusual for me, but I think it really turned out well. I think I was able to kind of paint between the lines, and I was able to focus on the things that mattered and kind of let the things that didn't matter just not matter. Like on this guy, the purity seal is 3 different colors, and the little piece of wax has been highlighted so that it looks perfect. I just painted this one tan and red, and then I just let it be washed with the black oil wash, and then I never touched it again. And it doesn't matter, it's good enough, it's on his leg, but I took some special care to freehand the Templar cross on his face, and that was a game changer. It brings a lot of attention to his face. On my old Templars, I carefully painted the heraldry on their chest. I carefully painted all of the pouches with edge highlighting, and it didn't really do me any good. It's the difference, I think, between like, I don't know, perfection and artistry. Because on these guys, the pouches are brown. They're just brown to the wash, but it doesn't matter because you're not looking at the pouch. You're looking at the sword, you're looking at the head, you're looking at the gun. I think these guys really turned out a little something special, even though I didn't work as hard on every detail. I think having painted so many of these, I knew in my mind what to do. I'm so familiar with the Primaris body that I was able to skip the things that don't matter and just work on the things that do. And so, like on the gun, a little bit of highlighting, and then I sponged on some battle damage, and it looks really good. I'm really a little bit shocked at how good these guys look, even though I did things that in my brain feel wrong. I mean, dry brushing feels wrong to me because it feels like I'm giving up a lot of cleanliness and a lot of control. But really, it doesn't matter. I mean, maybe I was always being a control freak when I painted like this, and getting a little bit faster and looser is really the key. I mean, it definitely the results speak for themselves. I think I need to let myself get a little wet and wild. Let myself get a little crazy with the painting, because these guys look great. There's nothing wrong with them, and I actually think I had a little bit more fun painting these guys. I mean, dry brushing is a fun painting technique. And I tried out a little bit of a texture on them, and I don't know how much the texture shows through in the final product. I don't know if I'll do more of it, but one thing I was very surprised in is I put a bunch of texture on the shoulder pads, and then I put a decal. And the scary thing with decals is they can look really bad when air gets trapped underneath them, but they look really good. And so for all of you people who struggle with decals, really apply some real pressure, really squish them down hard, because it gets all the air out from underneath, it lets the glue attach to the surface. Decals are tricky. The products Micro Sol and Micro Sets are a must buy if you do a lot of decals, but even if you don't have those products, I have put on very good decals with just water and really squishing the heck out of the decal. Because I've done it in the past where I make a dozen relief cuts and I very carefully set it on the surface, not to let it sit there, and then I let it dry and it sort of sucks itself down, but not quite, and you still get puckers and you still get folds. You gotta be a little rough with them. You gotta show them who's boss. But I'm very excited to have these 5 Black Templars done. I gave one of them a fun little friend, and he's fun. I'm gonna be doing this to all of my squad leaders. If the rest of my Indominus box looks this good, I'm gonna be really, really happy with it. There are some credible rumors that the Black Templar are gonna get a whole bunch of stuff later on this year, and I hope they do, but it's gonna be a little dangerous. I might go a little overboard. Hold me to it. I'm gonna have to finish all of my Indominus models before I'm allowed to buy any of the sexy new Black Templar stuff, because I cannot have so much gray plastic Space Marines hanging around. Also this week, I managed to get in a game of XWing, and XWing is the best game. It's so much fun. I'm really intrigued by XWing 2nd edition, but the problem is, XWing 1st edition is so much fun, there's nothing wrong with it, and I already have it. So it's hard to really want to make that jump, but XWing is a phenomenally fun war game. If you're used to 40K, it's really completely different. It's move, shoot, move, shoot, move, shoot. And when you put down a mini, there's templates that you have to pick how you move, and you really get some cool strategy on where you're gonna roll and where you're gonna get to and how you're gonna get your firing arcs in. That game is phenomenal, but it makes me wonder because I don't think it matters that much the rules of a war game, if that makes sense. Because like some people are gonna think X-Wing's boring, and some people are gonna think 40K is boring, some people are gonna think 40K is the greatest game ever made, some people are gonna love Age of Sigmar, some people are gonna love Frostgrave. I almost feel like the game doesn't matter as much. All of us as wargamers, we're responsible for our own happiness and entertainment. Like it's up to us to enjoy things. Now, what's on companies' shoulders is they have to make their game more appealing than the competitors. And so they have to, put out more cool looking models, they have to put out more rules, more art, they have to advertise to us harder. because really it's on them to make their games more attractive. But the fun of a game, I wonder how much that matters, because there's a bunch of games I haven't played, and I'm sure many of them are crazy amounts of fun. But are they going to be the game? Like, it's very rare that the absolute best product becomes the thing, right? If you looked at every wargame in the world, it turns out that the Song of Ice and Fire wargame has the tightest, best, most intriguing rules. I don't think it would take over the world. Like, I don't think it would become the biggest wargaming company. A lot of things factor in, the intellectual property, their IP, their storytelling, their books, their just general vibe. I think everyone's gonna find their little niche game, and they're gonna enjoy it for what it is. I mean, I love Star Wars Legion. I've never played a game. Even if that game sucks, I'll still probably really enjoy it, just because I love Star Wars so much and I love the miniatures so much. If the rules are just passable, that would be plenty enough for me to really enjoy Legion. And it's stuff like that that makes me wonder, like, are we trying to find the best possible war games, or are we just trying to have a good time and paint what's interesting and play interesting games? I have had incredible amounts of fun playing Monopoly with my friends. And Monopoly is an objectively crap game. Monopoly sucks, but it's fun to play. I mean, really, I think part of the reason why war games have a leg up on other games, especially like video games, is because it forces that social aspect. You know, I remember almost every game I've ever played just because it was a social time. You were hanging out with friends, you were enjoying yourself, spending time with buddies. I remember playing XWing. I would get off work at like 9 o'clock at night and we would play XWing until 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I would drive everybody home. And like that was the most fun I'd ever have. And I don't know how much it matters that it was XWing. I think we probably could have been doing anything. We could have been doing 40K. We could have been doing Age of Sigmar. We could have been just playing Fortnite and probably still having a wonderful time. So I almost wonder if the trick isn't to make the best rules in the world or the best models in the world, but just, I don't know, get it out there that this game is gonna bring people together? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if I'm making any sense at all, because I feel like the war game almost doesn't matter. But if the war game doesn't matter, then why do some get big and some get small? I mean, 40K, they have a history of being big, so that helps them out. But you know, there are some little games that come and go. Starship Troopers 2007, they came out with buttloads of miniatures. People love Starship Troopers a little bit. People love the books. People like those anime movies. This game did nothing. No one bought it. There's tons and tons of Kickstarters out there that look really cool and nobody gets into it. And I wonder if it's because they don't sell hard enough that you're gonna have a good time drinking some beer and moving some models around a table with your friends. I almost wonder if that's what we need to see instead of just cool models or just tight rule sets, interesting looking cards. I wonder if a wargaming commercial where you just saw some folks playing a game for however long a commercial is, 10 seconds. I almost wonder what would happen with that. I don't know if that's something we've ever seen before, but I'd be really interested in seeing it. But actually all of that is a lie. XWing is the best game ever made. This week might seem a little bit light on painting, but remember that this show is just for things I painted on stream or in my personal life. I painted a ton for videos, some really exciting stuff. You guys aren't gonna wanna miss it. And if you like our videos, the best way to help us make more is by supporting us over on Patreon. Over there, you'll get access to some behind the scenes voting on what models I paint live on YouTube, a live hobby hangout every week, and a bunch more. But that is what I worked on this week, and now it is time to end this episode with a story. Now this show is called Models and Memories, and that is because of the connection I have to all of my models. I remember all of the emotions and the things I was doing while I was working on them, and especially all of these objects behind me on my YouTube set. All of these things hold a little memory and a little story. And this week, I'm gonna talk about these. Now, these might look very familiar to some of you because these were featured in a video. And in fact, these were featured in our first ever, I almost want to say, real video. Before this video, we had always done tutorials, really specifically short tutorials, We had tried out some other forms of videos, like battle reports. You're definitely not going to want to miss those. We had done some showcasing videos where I showed off some miniatures from my army. But really, we were having okay to poor success with tutorials. And I think I understand why. When I was getting into the hobby, probably that first year where I was really painting and collecting and playing, I would do nothing but watch tutorials, morning, noon, and night. And now I don't really watch any. Really, after that first year, I stopped watching those, I think because even though they're very interesting, I don't think they have the entertainment value that I want out of media. It doesn't keep me entertained. And so, you know, I could even imagine like watching TV and having the tutorial open, and that's kind of, it's not missing the point. There's a lot of good in tutorials. We still make plenty of them, but this video unlocked the long form, scripted, good content. These were from a video called Free Plans and STL's 5 Pieces of Necron Terrain. And in the video, Nick designed up 5 pieces of Necron terrain that he 3D printed, and then he gave those to me, and then I replicated them out of foam. And as you can see, you know, I don't want to brag too much, but I did a pretty darn good job replicating it. And actually, I mean, these look pretty sick. But I remember this video, you know, usually a tutorial takes me like 3, 4, 5 hours to make. This video was, I don't know, 40 hours, 50, 60 hours of painting, of shooting. I mean, it was craziness, but it kind of awakened in us kind of a feeling of how to continue. Because this, even though it was a lot more work, it was a lot more interesting and a lot more satisfying to do. This video didn't you know, light the world on fire, but it definitely showed us the direction we should be moving in. And that's that we should make videos that are entertaining to watch, as well as with educational value. Nowadays, every Wednesday, we put out a video, something a little bit like this, a longer video where I talk a lot about what I'm doing and what's going on. And I really find them much more enjoyable to make than tutorials. Every now and then, I have a bunch of ideas for tutorials, and so I sit down and spend a day cranking them out. And I do enjoy those videos. Honestly, I look at those videos a lot. Whenever I have to remind myself of how I did a thing or how I used to do a thing, I watch those videos a lot to remind myself. And I hope that they're helpful to all of you guys, because they're definitely helpful to me. But the Wednesday videos are fun. They're fun to do. They're fun to watch, I hope. I really, really like our new, longer videos. And I think that they've been getting better and better and better and better. I mean, we're trying new things with new cameras. We're trying new things with old cameras. We're trying new ways of filming things. We're trying scripted. We're trying unscripted. We're going over here. We're going over there. We're doing everything we can think of, and it is tons of fun. It's also a little nerve-wracking when we have a deadline and we're still like, well, let's see what this shot looks like. But it's really, really interesting. And these are the models that started it all. I mean, if it wasn't for this models, I think immediately the week after this, we did a video called Every Model I've Ever Painted. Not as much fun, because there's not something associated with it. This model represents our Wednesday videos to me. Every time I look at these, I remember trying to match the paint jobs, trying to match the designs, and it reminds me exactly of some of the filming moments of working on these things. I remember rushing to try to finish the edge highlights because we needed to finish the video. And it just, it reminds me of why all of this YouTube stuff is worth it. Also, that video is still up. If you want the STLs, you can have them. I've seen a couple out in the wild of people who 3D printed this, and then, you know, maybe I pop up in a different non-J account, and I'm like, hey, that's neat, what's that? And then they're like, oh, I saw this really cool YouTube video. And that is incredible. That's an amazing feeling. So even though these look like just a simple Necron terrain, to me, they mean so much more. I don't know if I'll ever be able to part with these. I don't even know if I'll ever be able to repaint them. I think I need to keep them exactly as is. I'll just make Nick 3D print 10 more of these. It'll be fine. But these have to remain exactly like they are. There's been actually, we printed 5 different pieces of terrain, and I built 5 different pieces of terrain. This is the one that's gonna stick around. One of them I stepped on, so that's gone. And then a few more are fine. There's a little bit falling apart just because foam terrain, it's a little delicate. But I really like these pieces, and I really enjoy making longer, better, more interesting YouTube videos. So that is gonna wrap up this episode of Models and Memories Weekly, episode 15. I hope you guys enjoyed, but now it's time for the real stars of the show. You guys know why you're tuning in. That's right, this week's EOB Complete, submissions. We put out a challenge to our community to send us before and after photos of their recently finished models to be immortalized in our videos. If you want to join in the fun, you can submit a before and after photo of your painted mini to our Discord server, which you can find in the description below, or you can post it to Instagram with the hashtag EOBComplete. Without further ado, let's look at and get inspired by what the folks have finished this week. An Assault Intercessor by Dexstar, a Butcher of Kador by Crip Bowser, an Orc Stompa by Nick, a Necromunda Gang by Hollow Poncho, an Orc Weird Boy by Nicklin E, a Gaunt's Ghost by Just Make Stuff, a Redemptor Dreadnought by Maul, a Void Dragon by Steam Geeko1, a Lord Inquisitor Hector Rex by Lord Inquisitor Hector Flex, a Baneblade Battle Tank by Golden, a Venerable Smurf by Guyman Hype, a Heretical Necron Engine Seer by Vicky, a Custom Rhino by Elite Nova, some Eldar Guardians by Jackal, a Space Marine Captain by Chooch 7097, a Blood Angels Captain by Aldous, a Space Marine Captain by Stomperoo, a Genestealer Cult Jackal Alfarius by Decimation, some Primaris Marines by Dretch, a Space Marine Gunner by Buff Minis, a Custom Chapter Master by K-Pow It's O-Al, an Iron Warriors Terminator Sergeant by Bastion Red L, a Rubric Marine by Special Cheddar, a Morvon Vol by Power, a Morgeth by It's Tabby Time, some Necropolis Stalkers by Loop, a Data Smith by Boba Fett IG-88, a Necron Reanimator by Alex Ryder 123, and a Myrmidon by Stinky Pete. Congratulations to everyone for a job well done. It's no small feat to get paint on a mini, and you all should feel really proud. Nothing gets the hobby juices flowing like finishing a project, and we all thank you for sharing your work, motivating us and the hobby community to paint our plastic. Thanks for sharing.